Good day. Today I will be discussing the controversy between local and centralized control in the United States education system. The U.S. Constitution makes no provision for education, and as a result, there has been an ongoing debate about who should have the ultimate control over education. The 10th Amendment to the United States Constitution states, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people." This leaves the power to create schools and a system for education in the hands of individual states, rather than the central national government. Today, all 50 states provide public schooling to their young people, with 50 different approaches to education within the borders of one nation. From the very beginning of our republic, a well-educated citizenry was thought to be essential to protect liberty and the general welfare of the people. But by the late 1800s, public education had spread to most states, in a movement often referred to as the Common School Movement. However, in the late 1800s, there was a push for a more centralized control. The federal government wanted to create a standardized education system that would be the same across the entire country. This led to the creation of the Department of Education in 1867. However, it was later abolished, and it was not until 1979 that the Department of Education was re-established. After World War I, urban populations swelled, and vocational education and secondary education became part of the American landscape. By 1930, every state had some sort of compulsory education law. This also led to an increased control of schools by cities and states. The role of the federal government continued to grow, much larger, especially after the Great Depression and World War II. Three pivotal events occurred in the mid-20th century that impacted this debate greatly. First, the Supreme Court's decision in Brown v. Board of Education in 1954 declared that segregation in schools was unconstitutional. This decision led to the desegregation of schools across the country, but it also meant that the federal government had to get involved in the education system in order to enforce desegregation. Second, in 1958, Congress passed the National Defense Education Act in response to the Soviet launch of Sputnik. This legislation included support to teachers through graduate fellowships to improve the teaching of science, mathematics, and foreign languages. And third, in 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson included education policy in his vision of a great society. The following year, President Johnson signed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESEA, into law. This law decidedly changed the role of the federal government in the world of K-12 education. ESEA doubled the amount of federal expenditures for K-12 education, worked to change the relationship between states and the central government in the education arena, called for equal treatment of students no matter where they reside, and attempted to improve reading and math competency for children in poverty. These events marked a significant shift towards centralized control of education. ESEA is still the law of the United States today. However, the law has required periodic reauthorization, which has led to significant changes since 1965. One of the most well-known reauthorizations was President George W. Bush's No Child Left Behind, NCLB Act of 2001. No Child Left Behind called for 100% proficiency in math and reading scores nationwide by 2014 and expanded the role of standardized testing to measure student achievement. This led to an increased federal involvement in education as schools had to follow specific guidelines in order to receive funding. Again, under President Barack Obama, with Race to the Top, He required states to compete for federal grants through a point system, which rewarded certain educational policies and achievements. This resulted in nationwide changes in the way teachers are evaluated and placed even more emphasis on test results. Finally, in 2015, Obama signed Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, into law. This is the latest reauthorization of ESEA and returns some federal power over education back to the states, including evaluation measures and teacher quality standards. The debate between local and centralized control of education in the United States is ongoing. Major issues include the purpose and role of the federal government in education and the extent to which the federal government should play a role in public education. Areas for national debate involve school choice, accountability, teacher quality, goals, standards, and above all, funding. Ultimately, this debate between local and centralized control will continue, and it will be interesting to see how it will evolve in the future. Thank you for listening.